Hi everyone, today I'm here to talk about the Eddy purgatory theory, which states that everyone in the neighborhood actually died in a different time period and was sent to roam the cul-de-sac of Beach Creek Estates, the land they once lived in their former life. This theory is quite interesting because behind an innocent and happy setting, there lies each character's dark and gloomy past. The first to die was Rolf, a son of a shepherd who lived with his family at their farm. Not only was he the first to die, he was the first to live in the land that would be later known as the cul-de-sac. In 1903, Rolf was trampled to death by his bull who broke out of its cage. He took his farm animals even after death and still takes care of them and his farming duties on a daily basis. Right after Rolf's death, Johnny and his family moved into the farm that Rolf's family used to own. In an attempt to compensate for the lack of friends and abundance of free time he had, Johnny created Plank, who would stay with him for the rest of his life. After years of fighting tuberculosis, Johnny died in 1922 and took his friend Plank with him. In the afterlife, Eddy was born in New York but moved to the neighborhood in 1932 as it had begun to start forming from many families moving into the land. Because it was during the Great Depression, Eddy became a schemer in order to get away from the sad truth that he was living in. However, in 1939, it inevitably brought him to his death when he drowned in a river while trying to run away from a group of children that were trying to get revenge on Eddy after falling for his trickery. Sarah and Ed were born in the late 40s when the cul-de-sac started to take form from the popular preplan developments in the post-war era. While growing up in WW2, they had different ways of escaping the brutal reality of a working mother who was never home and a dead GI. Sarah became controlling in order to let everyone know that she was the one who was in charge. On the other hand, Ed shut out from the world and got involved in comics and movies. Their death was caused by a car accident while driving to their grandparents' house. A flower child, Naz was born in the 60s during the hippie era. Growing up as a beautiful girl, she always flirted with the boys and lived carelessly. However, in the summer of 1979, a serial killer escaped from an asylum and broke into Naz's house. Her whole family was murdered after Naz was raped and killed. In the afterlife, Naz chose to completely forget about her family, which is why she does anything she wants because she has no parental figure. Ed was born under two controlling parents who, even after his death, greatly influenced his life. He followed their footsteps intellectually but became rather shy and timid. In 1986, a gas leak occurred while Ed was experimenting and caused an explosion which blew him and his house. Altogether, Kevin was born on the day of Ed's death from a drunken and abusive father. In order to relieve his stress caused by his father, he bullied other children. In 1999, Kevin tried to stand against his father, but was beaten and died while getting transported to the hospital. In Kevin's afterlife, Kevin altered his dad's personality to be a loving and caring one. However, Kevin still retains his bullying tendencies. Jimmy was the last to join the kids when he died from leukemia in 2000. Before his death, Jimmy lived in Kevin's old house under his overprotective parents, who never let him out to play with the kids. As his days passed by, Jimmy stayed in his small bedroom fighting with his illness. The Canker sisters, however, are daughters of the devil sent from hell to torture the lost souls. This is very possible because they have an ability to show up anywhere in an instant, and are able to overpower the children. Their attraction to the Eds may be because that they have the weakest wills out of all the children in the neighborhood. Before I end this video, let me just say I think this theory makes a lot of sense, because if you look back on the show and pay attention to the environment, you will notice some very weird things, like that the area they live in seems completely deserted except for this certain group of kids. Isn't it kind of strange that when they are in school they are the only group of kids that are in the school? What about the fact that there are no adults on the show whatsoever besides Eddy's dad's arms being shown in one episode, which doesn't disprove this theory? What this could mean is that the cul-de-sac might not be purgatory but could be their ideal heaven, which means they could have anything they have always wanted, such as have their families with them even when they're not really there. Just a reminder, this is just my opinion on the theory and how I think it makes a lot of sense, and when watching the show with this theory in my head makes the show pretty damn creepy.